Welcome to the pawn shop. Hope you find what you're looking for. Did you know that Pawn Stars was fake?
Yeah, of course.
Bruh.
Do you know this guy?
You did. Well, good for you. I was quite a gullible child, so when a customer was coming into the gold and silver pawn shop on South Las Vegas Boulevard in Las Vegas, and Rick Harrison started spitting out facts about what people in the 1700s were shoving up their butts, I believed he was basically just a walking history textbook. A god, maybe even, but I was wrong. In my last video, I had this little section explaining why I had been away from my channel for a bit. I showed one of my hospital visits in which I had a 105-degree fever. A fever that can lead to organ damage and malfunction. Yeah, it is what it is. I live in America, and yes, that's the price after insurance. From this 2-week journey of heavy bodily recovery, there was one thing and one thing only that I watched. Just kidding. Great show, great intro, but I watched Pawn Stars. I used to watch this show almost every single day after I got home from school, and it had me hooked. The quizzes before ad breaks were my education, not whatever my mean, circular robotic George Lopez history teacher was teaching me. Yeah, lore drop. I went to school with Mr. Electric. I've always liked history somewhat as a kid. Vintage things were always pretty cool to me. Seeing something and being like, that old is fun. Thinking about what this pee-pee syringe has seen is insane, and the show is full of pieces like it, with the occasional Charizard card coming through.
Pokemon cards and Pokemon.
So what made this show as lovable as it still is today, and where was the downfall? Before that though, summer is here and it has been extremely hot recently. Temperatures in the high 90s is not something my little self in Ohio is used to. Sweating makes me stressed, overstimulated, and truthfully, I'm not here for it. What I am here for is MeUndies, aka the sponsor of today's video. MeUndies targets this specific problem by having extremely breathable micromodal fabric that can keep you cool on those high temperature days. And MeUndies is for everybody. Products coming in 20 different styles that are breathable and stretchy for all day wear. Coming in many different sizes so you can find the perfect pair for you. It is a brand that I will continue using and one that I also recommend to you. You deserve to be comfortable, and I mean it when I say that these are extremely cozy. I picked out a cute pink pair and a rainbow gay pair. Right now, you can score summer sizzling deals like up to 50% off at MeUndies.com/AllieT and use promo code AllieT. That is MeUndies.com/AllieT. Promo code AllieT for up to 50% off. MeUndies, comfort that is made for summer. Thank you for sponsoring today's video. Pawn Stars first aired on July 19th, 2009 on the History Channel, and it's about selling things. Their first pitch to the channel was interesting, starting with glamorous shots of Las Vegas and Corey to introduce it all. The main characters to know when it comes to Pawn Stars are Rick Harrison, Richard Harrison, otherwise known as the Old Man, Corey Harrison, and Chum Lee. The Old Man being Rick's dad, Rick being Corey's dad, and Chum being Corey's lifelong friend. Although the pitch looks the way it does, it still somewhat channels what the show would eventually become in terms of the chemistry the workers had. What is different though is the energy in which they do deals with customers. I would love to get this out of the way pretty early on. Pawn shops are a pretty scummy business practice. Pawning is when you bring an item to a shop in order to get a loan. They tell you how much they're willing to give you to borrow, and if you don't pay it back in a certain amount of time, they are allowed to sell the item. They will offer you a price well below market value because they know you're desperate. Otherwise, why would you be trying to quickly get cash in a way that completely avoids credit checks and banking in general? So yeah, it's helping.
So I gotta ask, man, why would you pawn a bike like this?
I gotta make payroll. I got employees that count on me, you know?
But you're still giving up a possession you would normally want to keep or spend time selling for a better price in order to dig yourself out of a hole. Especially around 2009, while you were dancing to Cotton Eye Joe on your Wii and your parents at the time in America were in the other room losing jobs and trying to keep your home from being foreclosed. Sad but true. And you can see a spot-on example with this clip right here.
Trying to find a room for the
money.
We're living on Social Security, and it's pretty hard, and we have the house taxes to pay.
I'm just short for Christmas.
This woman is introduced as she is trying to pawn or sell her item due to the fact that she has a baby on the way, and this is how the clip is edited.
$15. 15 American. It's okay.
The sad music. Oh, they're aware the business is sad. And then, oh, Ricky boy. I don't want to talk about it. Rick happily and confidently tells the camera, this.
I actually have the casinos send people down. I mean, when they've reached their credit limit, I'll get a call from a concierge, and they'll send people down. I mean, that happens a lot.
Richard, no. Something that you don't really hear much of, though, even before the show started, their entire family was doing extremely well for themselves. Rick stated that he had a large home with a garage full of toys, and then there's Corey, who was 23 at the time, who already had a home of his own, as well as 2 Harleys, quads, which are similar to ATVs, and a dang nice truck. So the family definitely has a make money mindset. At the end of the pitch, a title screen pops up that says Vegas Pawn, assuming that's what it was originally to be called, but we all know that that didn't stick. Otherwise, this video would be titled something else. After doing some research, I found this clip from 2003, and I think that it is actually the most perfect way to wrap up this section.
I've had a guy try to pull his wife's false teeth out.
Oh,
She wouldn't give them up.
good.
Yeah.
Yeah. You wouldn't have taken them anyway.
Come on, you wouldn't have, you heartless pricks.
Heartless fucking bricks, bro. That's crazy. Pawn Stars first aired at a time of peak reality show popularity. It was an easy way to make a low-budget show turn into something huge, where instead of putting budget towards writers and actors, money just kind of went towards these regular people who already had the set for them, and they just had to get a small crew for camera and lighting. It was less of an investment if it flopped. Originally, there was less of a production vibe, and the show was filmed at the actual store. But as the show went on and started to become a home staple, it evolved to a more tourist destination where everyone wanted to try and be on camera and see the workers themselves. The real shop is extremely tiny. Not that size mattered. When my mom and my brother went, they said they had to wait in a very long line just to be able to walk around the store within a matter of minutes, seconds, if you really wanted to. So it does make sense that as the show grew, it wasn't becoming realistic anymore as a filming location. How do the deals work? You may be asking. No, you do not just walk in and are faced with Rick Harrison laughing in your face for wanting to sell an item for what it's actually worth. And this was personally my favorite part of scripting this video. This was so interesting. You may have noticed when watching the show in the past that while yes, it's called Pawn Stars, not a lot of pawning happens. It's 9 times out of 10 selling. They wanted to derive from pawning quite early on in the show because, like I expressed, it's usually a really sad, depressing thing. So with production's realization of that, they very much so cut off pawning. It happens very little in the show. People often watch TV to escape reality. Ironic, because this is a reality TV show, but so is Long Island. Oh, so is Love Island. So I'm not actually really gonna talk about pawning here. I'm mainly talking about selling products. When you wanted to sell an item at the Gold and Silver Pawn Shop in Las Vegas, there were different cases that could happen. I'm slowly losing my voice. If you came to the pawn shop with an item that they thought was interesting enough to be on the show, they would tell the seller to come back on a day where they're shooting the show so that they have time to research the item, prepare for experts to come in if needed, and then you would try to sell the item, but this time with many cameras in your face. I've also seen around that producers would do some research and scout people who are selling pretty cool items, but the main method of being on the show consisted of contacting the producers yourself about an item that you wanted to sell. And they would know about you and this item for months before filming, at least in typical cases. So yeah, guys, these people aren't just walking in. It's fake. Also orchestrated, or in other terms, faked. Which, like, yeah, of course it's fake, but like, God forbid someone just like wants to believe that anything. God forbid anyone wants to believe in anything. But yeah, also faked was the obscure knowledge of goddamn everything that walked in those doors. All of the research is done by the producers and fed to Rick or the old man or whoever is there while shooting. They didn't have that at the top of their noggin. The experts that are called in, say it with me now, are also fake. When Rick says that iconic line,
I got a buddy. I got a buddy. I got a buddy.
I got a buddy.
I got a buddy. I got a buddy.
The expert is basically just like one foam wall away, and they have been prepared for that shoot for weeks to months. They are real experts, but like, it's not just like, let me call my buddy down the street, and then he comes from the street. It's like, let me call my buddy, and the buddy is eating Cheez-Its at the crafty table. I used to have the biggest crush on Rebecca. Rebecca. They had a book expert, instrument expert, video game / toy expert, movie prop expert, sports expert, antique expert, autograph expert, military expert. The list goes on. And a lot of these people were pretty reoccurring. It was exciting when they popped up, 'cause it's like, oh, my favorite little side character. Also because it meant that the seller was either going to hear the absolute best news ever or the worst news ever. Something that I thought was interesting though is that allegedly the sellers were actually not paid for their time. Look, I know that they're technically selling something and could make a lot of money out of it. I just can't help but feel bad though for those who don't sell an item, especially if they traveled to sell their item or if they were scouted. That really stinks if they were never paid for their time. You can't give these people $50 for their time on a show that makes millions, on a channel that makes billions. At least Jubilee gives you $50 before letting you get roasted by XQC's live stream chat. Damn. Once time for cameras, the seller would be told to not break the fourth wall and that they will cut in for reshooting and information giving. But negotiating is fully up to them. And this actually kind of shocked me to hear. I kind of assumed that there would be some tampering with the negotiations, but apparently, it is. That's you. That's you and Rick. That's you and the old man. I wouldn't be surprised if like some of them were tampered with, but my favorite part after fully becoming aware of all of the fakeness of Pawn Stars are the people in the back, like the background actors. One of the Reddit posts that I saw about someone's experience was that their friends were the people in the background.
And we literally get our extras from the pawn shop floor. We literally, if we're about to film, we run out, who wants to be an extra on Pawn Stars? We grab a bunch of people, bring it back here.
But it's really fun to realize that they're not actually talking. When I used to work in production, I always loved when there were crowd scenes because everyone in the background is completely silent. It's fake conversations. It's like, it's really goofy and it feels really goofy to do, but it's so there's no other noise being tracked by the mic. But I love watching the people, and when they make eye contact with the camera, so good. So the deal begins. Once finished, they'll take B-roll of your item while they pay you, or if you didn't make a deal, they film and then you head home. Probably kind of pissed. And that's that. If you go through and watch episodes of Pawn Stars, you can actually perfectly tell whether it's an episode that was shot in the store or if it was the one on the set. And you can tell by the door and the ceiling. The real door you can see through, and there's even traffic that you can visualize on the other side. But the set has frosted glass because it's just like a wood wall on the other side. And then if you can see the ceiling, that's also the real store, but the set does not show the ceiling because it's not there. Pawn Stars would go on an indefinite hiatus at the end of season 23 in June of 2022. There were quite a few reasons for this. The first reason being their contract was ending in time with the History Channel being in a point of transition, and what Pawn Stars had become wasn't in the photo. Reputation also began to become a reason for the show declining. I confidently say that the most popular character of Pawn Stars was Chum-Li. I used to hate when he wasn't in scenes. That's how much his presence was loved. He added humor, lighthearted vibes, realisticness. It was always a breath of fresh air. But he's definitely a different person than who he is on the show. In 2016, Austin, his real name, because I don't want to use a nickname when talking about a serious situation like this, Austin Russell's home was searched by police due to 2 separate SA investigations. While being in there, they found large amounts of illegal drugs as well as scales, and many different types of guns, of which only 4 were actually registered to him, which was enough for the police to assume that he was dealing on top of the illegal weapons, and he was arrested. He was bailed out and sent to appear in court, which led him to pleading guilty to his felony weapon charge and misdemeanor drug possession charge. Pleading guilty was somehow enough to have him avoid serving time, but he did have to attend mandatory counseling. When it comes to his SA charges, they were dropped due to a lack of evidence, but this is obviously not information I'm going to withhold just because of that. The situation feels very insane. Somehow all of that, and he didn't have to serve a single day. He was able to just hop back on a History Channel show that's made for families. Privilege is a crazy thing, and Austin, I hope that you are aware of those privileges. I know that I said this was in 2016 and the show stopped airing in 2022, but this did hurt the show's ratings, and I personally don't remember hearing much about Pawn Stars after this happened until very recent years, and that's only because they really hopped on the YouTube game and reposting episodes on there. There was another legal battle which also became a hurdle for the show, as in 2018 the old man passed away, leaving behind a problematic will of his possessions and money. This led to a lawsuit towards Rick from his mother, who was accusing Rick of shorting her out on the old man's share in the shop, also claiming that he made her sign over 51% interest in the pawn shop over to him after she woke up from a coma, and says that she didn't know what she was signing. His reply to these accusations were, "The allegations are false, and I think that my 81-year-old mother is being manipulated by others for their personal gain." Although the old man passed away in 2018, this lawsuit was filed in 2022, the same year that the show stopped airing. There have been no updates about this case, and if it was handled personally, dropped, or is still ongoing. The last legal battle is more recent, happening in 2023, where Corey was arrested on a DUI charge after being pulled over due to swerving. He failed the sobriety test and was booked into the Las Vegas jail. As the show continued throughout the years, it became more and more scripted, and they completely stopped hiding it at that. This made the lovable characters less lovable and more on the awkward side. There's a point in the show where Corey genuinely just gives the hell up.
But they have that retro feel that attracts sci-fi fans and hipsters.
Sometimes it'll just pan to one of them and it looks like they're being held there against their will.
They came up with a way of designing.
So with all these things considered, as well as what we don't know behind the scenes, they were very burnt out and were over it. Corey doesn't even want to ever go back to Las Vegas and said, "At this stage of the game, we're all playing a character on Pawn Stars. I can't play another season of a 41-year-old me pretending to be 23. It's pretty difficult to keep a show going on for 16 years, so even if their controversies went out the window, 2022 was probably a good time to pack it up anyways. So yeah, there's not really one answer for why Pawn Stars stopped. There's a combination of a lot of things, but RIP. If you would like to follow me, you can do that in the description below. I have been extremely active on Instagram recently because my reels have been kind of doing nicely. But I also have a Discord server if you're interested in joining. And yeah, I hope you are all safe and taking care of yourselves. Life has been pretty scary recently, and I just really hope you guys are taking care and focusing on your mental health and physical health. And yeah, I want to make sure all of you are okay. So stay strong, my friends, and I will see you with the next one. Bye.